On today's Phoenix Magazine podcast, meet the guy who probably loves Phoenix the most. This episode of the Phoenix Magazine podcast is sponsored by Garrison Brothers Distillery. The high fashion takeover is coming soon from the great Garrison Brothers Distillery that makes all of its handcrafted award-winning bourbons down on the ranch in High, Texas. Throughout the month of September, Garrison Brothers presents the High Fashion Takeover. Bars and restaurants are invited to create their own innovative old-fashioned recipes featuring Garrison Brothers bourbon. The Garrison Brothers Distillery is the first legal bourbon distillery outside of Kentucky and makes its premium bourbons to be rich, bold, and sweet without the heat. It's served best however you like your bourbon, neat over ice or in a craft cocktail like America's favorite cocktail, the Old Fashioned. For more information on the High Fashion Takeover, visit the website highfashion.com. That's high, H-Y-E, fashioned.com. Welcome to the Phoenix Magazine podcast for the week of August 23rd. I'm Matt Johnson, Director of Digital Content, and next to me, first time introduced Morel Englefield on the podcast. Morel, our art director for Phoenix Magazine. Thanks for sitting in.
Glad to be here. This is cool. I'm impressed by your setup, Matt.
Thank you.
Producer roots are coming out right now.
For folks who may not have heard your voice or seen your videos like on our YouTube or Instagram, tell us a little bit about yourself, because you are one of the longest tenured employees here at Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything about age. You've just been here and you've been holding down the fort for a long time.
Well, with your lady, I mean, she got here a few months before I did, way back in 2003. I want to say,
Sure.
20 years actually. I started out in the production department, and I was actually Molly's relief when Molly had to, take a vacation or have a baby or something like that for a few
Molly's
years.
our CFO for both magazines.
Yeah. So that was the beginning of this publishing career. And then went into Phoenix Home and Gardens editorial department for about 8 years. And then when the iPad came out is when I kind of decided I wanted to try a more technological approach with design and see how that would be. And it did that for a few years. And then this editorial position in Phoenix Magazine opened up. And I'm like, well, I'm feeling like a little bit of a change. And the rest is history, I guess.
Okay. All right.
So.
Very good.
I like what you said when the iPad came out. I was like, man,
Well,
when did the iPad come out? What year did it?
Oh, like 2010, I want to say.
Yeah.
No. Was it? Yeah, that seems about right.
So you've been
Sure.
here longer than 10 years.
Yeah. I'm not, don't quote me on that. I mean, it's all kind of a blur, but yeah, cool. I think it was about 2010. Our former president, Mike Shoemaker, I was bugging him and Bill for like probably over a year. Like, did you see Martha Stewart's presentation at Adobe Max? How she took Martha Stewart Living and turned this flower and it was blooming like on the cover of Living, which at the time just blew my freaking mind. I'm like, if Phoenix Home and Garden doesn't do this, like that would be just a wasted platform. You know what I mean? We have to do something. Yeah. And they were kind of like against digital publishing at the time. I think they were diehard like print. I mean, Mike wasn't, but Bill was. And of course you have to convince the boss to, do something new in the company. So finally Bill must have given him the green light. And I'm sitting there at my desk and Mike went down to the Apple store and he walks in and just handed me the iPad and he said, "Show us what you can do."
Oh, wow.
And I was like, what? Oh my God. I was so excited. It was like the most fun thing. And I literally had no idea how to do it.
Right on.
But Adobe makes it really easy to learn their products. Like you just go to any Adobe product and there is a tutorial times 1,000.
Oh, for sure.
To do something. And I learned just by taking it home and experimenting and watching those tutorials. And that was fun. That was my next career for
and
about 5
YouTube
years.
is such a big help for that too, and we'll get into you hear the other voice kind of on the third microphone. Our guest for this episode, but you know him well. You worked together shooting a lot of our videos that we see on Instagram and throughout the Local Buzz app. It is the creator of Local Buzz, Tony C.
Hello.
You know, we were talking before, right? And I've always called you Tony Say.
That's all right. I like that too.
Because it's CE, right?
If I travel to other countries, I'm gonna say. That's just to kind of give it a little cool lingo.
I was kind of doing some background search, but like Tony Say, that's just your stage name, right? Your real name is a lot longer and harder to say. Can you say it for us?
My American name is Tony, and my Asian, which I'm Laos, Southeast Asian name is Suksavan Chanthavong. Suksavan is the one word, last name Chanthavong. So Laos and Thai people have very long names, very long last names, first names. Well, my family calls me Alay.
Alay for short, like
Alay. That's like, it doesn't see how it's pronounced. Tony Suksavan and Alay, right? So Alay means it's like golden sunset, sunset at the end of the ocean.
Wow.
Just that one word, that one pronunciation. My mom told me this, right? And so I go, how'd you get Suksavan? I don't know. I never asked about how that Suksavan and Chanthavong. It's just a lot of Laotian and then Thai people have very long last names.
And why is that?
I don't know. I mean, like, if you think about it, you have Vietnam. Vietnam has, the short. Then you have like Laos next to it, and you have Thailand, and you have like Cambodia. Cambodians have very short names, like one word, like Peng or May or like that, right? And you have Myanmar, and you go into South Asia with like, India and all, Bangladesh, and it's like, I don't know. I think there was a big influence of Indian, South Asian Indian culture into that, and I think the migration might have been a jump over. I don't know.
Is it one of those situations like I know in older countries, like they take the name of the original father and then they add another name from like a new person in the mix, meld them, and then they keep doing that down the line? Is that one of those situations? Or
Laos Thai writing, and I could probably say for Cambodia, it has this Arabic Indian writing to it. But I think when you look at it, it looks like a lot of characters. So I think the transition to like that kind of the English alphabet, it just, people probably just like, okay, we're going to make this letter become this, this character become this letter. So I think that's how this typo. I have 13 letters in my last name.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was another one of the things I learned about you is, what, 4 languages?
Yeah. Laos, Vietnamese, 2 different dialects of Chinese, Chuchao, which is a village language, and Cantonese. And I mean, I can understand, and Thai too.
Yeah.
So
are those all are they similar? There are a lot of differences.
Like, so I'm actually, like Cantonese and Chuchao, Tai Chu is actually from China. That's Tai Chu is a village language, like kind of like Hmong, or mountain people and all that. My family is half Chinese. Actually, I'm half Chinese. But we consider ourselves Laos because we were born in Laos. My family, through my grandparents, they've been in Laos. It was my great grandparents that migrated from Middle China to start a farm in Laos. And then that's how it became. So, but our language, our dialect is like not familiar like Cantonese and Mandarin, because right now Mandarin is like taking over the world in the sense of the language. Mandarin and Spanish, right? Those are the top
Yeah, Mandarin is kind of what they're teaching in schools right now.
Yeah. It's just because of population. Yeah. It's just like, because the Chinese population has just gotten so huge, and Spanish has been around, universal as well, right? I mean, so these are the top part, but Chinese, the language I have that I speak, is very rare. I don't think my generation, after probably one more generation, it could be one of those languages that there's statistics, like there's a lot of languages out there that's going to be non-existent in the next 100 years.
Wow.
Because of just they're ancient languages, right? And then evolution happens. The new languages come in, right? Well, we start our English that we speak now. I've listened to some AI stuff of how English used to sound like in 1200s. Totally different. Totally. So things just evolve in that sense.
For sure.
The medieval English language, no one speaks like that, All right. So.
Yeah.
So we bring you in here today, Tony, because you were a Great 48 alumni. You were in the issue last year.
Yes.
We have, Morel, we're working on that for the that feature for the November-December issue, and we're getting nominations, starting to get those out and asking people to submit those. When you learned that we had chosen you for this feature, which we've done for a number of years, the Great 48, it's great people that are doing great works in the community. What kind of struck you about that?
To be honest, I was very humbled. I think I've learned to be humbled. I think accepting, these kind of nominations and awards, I never put it to my ego. I just know that but it also makes you, humble in the sense that I know I'm doing something within the community, for the communities, for different communities that I support and serve, that I'm on the right path. So it just kind of gives me this drive that if the community believes in me, then I believe in them too. So it's a full circle of not just like, hey, I accept this award or accept this kind of feature, where it's more about I'm just being grateful for that I can have this opportunity in my life to represent, do what I love, which is, help others as well and so forth, and do, great things of, it's not just one person, I think, doing great things with people all together, and I think that's where I kind of stand with this. So I feel kind of very just humble about it. So, I mean,
I love your quote from the issue last year. I wrote it down here. Is, you say, "I've met all walks of life, and one thing I found is that all humans want to connect."
Yes,
that's where the magic is.
That's where the magic is. I mean, that's where I think, coming from the restaurant industry and being in the kitchen with chefs or in the background, like, the restaurant industry is tough. People, we love to go out, eat, dine at, great places, nice places, but in the back, to make those functions and those things happen, to, serve people in the restaurant industry, it's a lot of different stressing layers. But the greatest thing I've learned is that no matter what, in those backgrounds, when you're back in the kitchen with them and you share that kind of experience, in the end, people do it with heart, and they just want to connect with others, and I think, and you sit down and you get to vibe with them too, because after the storm weighs out, you get to sit down and have a drink with them and sit at a round table and just enjoy that moment of clarity and that connection, right? And I feel like, I think that's how I go across every different community, in a sense, or business, that people want to do what they love to do, but the work they put on, it's relatable, especially if I come, because if you come from that, background of the hustle and bustle a little bit, you can understand people's kind of struggles or their passion of going through those struggles, and feel connected. And I think just overall in the world, like, if nobody wants to connect with each other, I would just tell them, go off the grid, go live in the woods, go be that, the guy who lives, person who lives, chops down trees and builds a cabin and lives with their dog, and that, be happy with that. And it's, some people do that. Some people love going off the grid, but where reality, where connecting is very important, because as human beings, as communities, that's how we thrive.
Yeah, that's what we were meant for, right?
That's what we're meant for. Yeah. We're meant to learn. We're meant to share a good beer together, a good meal, and just the energy, right? It's all about energy and synchronizing and feeling that kind of strong connection, so we can, make life meaningful.
Yeah.
Maybe we can share that. Maybe we can share that some of those ice cream cakes that were delivered this morning after this, right?
Well,
thank you, Tom's Incredible Ice Cream Cakes in Scottsdale.
Yeah, those are, the blueberry one was.
Where was like being surprised by just a drop off of something here from a local company. You might have to go throw them up on the local Buzz app and get the buzz about Tom's Incredible Ice Cream Cakes.
You know what? I think I'm gonna visit. Are they open today? I think I'll probably visit them right after this.
There you go.
Yeah.
So tell us about the app, because we wrote about you. You founded this app called Local Buzz.
Yep.
A take on Instagram and TikTok in a way, video sharing, but it's all local companies, and you feature all these great places to go, things to do, places to eat. Tell me a little bit more about kind of what was the inspiration behind it?
The inspiration is one of those, like, right now, if us three was to say, what's going on around town at this moment? No one really has a clue. With technology, with AI, even like being mainstream right now, 2023, we're still kind of like, to connect our communities, we're still kind of disjointed a little bit, right? And with the video, with video based, because of TikTok is now have like made digital video king these days. We're up to speed with that. So Local Buzz is a video discovery platform. What makes it a difference is that it has that TikTok video format, how I feel, but it's categorized. And it's categorized through these eats and drinks, community events, arts and culture separate. So when you make a post on there, you can put it under that post for other communities to discover, because we're all human beings wanting to connect. We all have the same common interests, whereas family friendly and all those things. And that's how I feel like you could tap into knowing what's happening in communities through the platform Local Buzz. We're trying to solve that problem of what's happening in our local communities through these common interests. And how it came to be was when I was creating Phoenix Night Market. Phoenix Night Market was an Asian-inspired night market. At that time, no one did night markets in Phoenix, no Arizona. It was all day festivals, taco festival, this festival, that festival, at a park, 10 to 5, right?
Go out and get sunburned at the beer festival.
Yeah,
go home and pass out at 6 o'clock at night.
Exactly right. So when I had snow in my dessert shop, I used to do a lot of events at these festivals as a vendor. And one day it just clicked to me, and I was like, how come there's no night festival in Arizona? And that's when I was inspired by the Asian night markets in Hong Kong, Taiwan, and all that. And when I created that, it started from 6 p.m. to midnight, right? But before we even launched it, I had to go out and meet who would I want to be vending at the event. And I wanted it to be multicultural, even though it was Asian themed, but it was multicultural, diverse, or everything. Whereas, food trucks, hot dogs, Cantonese food, Salvadoran, for all that, right?
Yum.
When I went out, so I had to go to different events and festivals and little different communities and cultures to find out about these people. I'm like, how come there's no platform to know what's going on right now in these communities? Arizona is really big, so spread out, but like you guys know, it's spread out and there's different things happening everywhere. It's not where like Chicago is like neighborhood block to block, right? And that's how Local Buzz came to be. I met my co-founder. He came across me. He was like, I have this platform that he's the one that kind of came up with the beta program where you could post stuff about what's happening locally through these categories and discover about. It was kind of like, at that time, it was like Pinterest, so people would post there. And then we started getting hits, like 30,000 hits a month, actually. And then we knew that we had to build an app. And then the pandemic hit. So we built the app during the pandemic. But the whole goal was, when I did the night market, I discovered so many things in Phoenix. And people would say when people think of Phoenix, they don't think of much. You know what I mean? I mean, for Phoenix Magazine does, is amazing. You guys highlight. But on the grander scale, people from out of different states, they don't think much about Phoenix. I'm trying to prove that Phoenix has a lot of communities of culture, traditions, and things that makes Phoenix awesome. And has been a startup tech that rolls out of Phoenix. Usually, like, there's some techs that come from Silicon Valley and all these other, right?
Sure.
So we have an opportunity right now to pave the way to show that there's what local communities, culture, and connections all about in Phoenix, to pave the way for other cities, to show how, and we're doing it already. We've launched Phoenix, Chicago. And there's people in Chicago that has told us, like, man, Phoenix's fee is amazing. Yes, there's a lot going on, lot to discover. People didn't know about Phoenix, right?
Yeah, so you're in Austin and Chicago and Phoenix. Any other markets? Or we're in LA as well, but LA is just like, we just launched it there just to keep it open, because we go out there to network. But for the most part, the most active is Phoenix, Chicago, and Austin. Do you like any of those cities more than Phoenix, or is Phoenix still?
Everyone's different. Every city's different, but I put my heart and soul, invested my time, invested my soul, not my, money too, but invested my life, half of my life to Phoenix. And I'm proud to say I'm a Phoenician, and I love what the city has offered. I like going to Chicago, but nothing against Chicago, but Chicago is an older city and everything's built right next to each other. So when you live in the city and you say you go to the park, I'm trying to think, like, where's the park at? There's the space is so tight there, and everything's like right next to historic and like 3 buildings up at least. Where Phoenix is, you have space.
Sprawled out, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate this. Now that we're older, like, I appreciate like the front yard, and even though it's rocks, but like, like, right. But I appreciate the neighborhood walk through homes and palm tree lanes and stuff like that, right?
So you've got some breathing space.
Yeah, there's some breathing space, and I think it's just a surrounding Arizona. Like, I just came back from Pine Top. It's freaking Pine Top's phenomenal.
I saw those photos.
It's like
they were very serene to look at, and I needed that after a shift week.
You go there, like I felt like you go in there, you open the door, and you just kind of like you smell the pine freshness, nature's air freshener. You just feel relief, like in a snap, But for the most part, I think Phoenix has a lot of great communities and culture that people represent. A lot of good locals here. And Phoenix, I always say, is like has big city dreams, but small town vibes. It's not like a New York minute, but there's a lot of people here appreciate the community aspect here is very strong. And I think I like to take that into, I like to like say that with pride to other people that I think Phoenix has a strong community support base. And, and it's thriving. And I know we're at this boom moment of people. A lot of transplants are moving here. A lot of transplants are moving here. In the past 2 years, I think 50% of it, and they've been from actually more from Midwest. I don't know you guys. Have you guys like?
Oh yeah.
Yes. You felt like more Midwest, or was
all my best friends here for the last? I've lived here for 25 years, but my best friends are all from the Midwest or Upper West. I know a couple natives, but a lot of them are from elsewhere. As am I. Yeah. From Oregon, but
you've been here. I mean, how long have you been here?
25 years now.
Oh, so you're already a Phoenician in a sense. I've been,
more than half my life has been here, and so I consider myself more of a, I don't know, native, but I'm an Arizonan.
Yeah,
I'll never live anywhere else.
Exactly, I second that.
I've
been here more than half my life. I love it here.
So, like, we've all fallen in love here, and we've got favorite places. But I mean, you particularly, you watch everything you do through the app, through the Local Buzz app. You visit so many places. How many places are you getting to on, say, like a weekly basis?
You know what? At this moment right now, I mean, we're a young startup, right? And I feel like when you are a young startup and you're building community, you have to build that before it goes scaling out. You have to build that strong foundation.
Sure.
And I think the past 2 years since we launched the app, I visited so many businesses, but I came to visit mostly business that I knew that I was going to build a relationship with. And then those 85% of those people that build a relationship are still strongly tied to them. And I venture out 15% of it, right? So I think I visited, honestly, I don't know, because usually someone just calls me or tells me this is going on, and I'm like, I can make it. I'm like, I learned how to say yes, but I also learned how to say no too, right? So,
right,
I can't say no. I can't. But you know what the amazing part is, Ted? Even though it was kind of stuff like going on and it takes a lot of time and day, the best part is making those connections.
Sure.
You get to know people, from a different perspective and understand their backgrounds and stories. And I want to tell, my goal is to tell more community stories, I mean, once I get this kind of set up, there'll be more storytelling, and when Matt lets me borrow his equipment. but for the most part, I think
I have a cool carrying case now for all this stuff. So,
but I'm out there, and I love doing it. I love connecting people. It makes life more meaningful. And I think when you get older, you don't hang out like in your 20s with a bunch of college friends somewhere. And I think community, I'm already in my early 40s, and I think, community aspect and paying forward and connecting with people makes life worth still going for, and but plus to show support and let people know, like, man, this business or this community has this going on that people need to know about, to discover and connect with, because this is what makes you living in Phoenix appreciate you living in Phoenix, because of these communities that do amazing things to connect with, right? So.
I really feel like, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Local Buzz is like a really nice, like, kind of extension to what we do.
Yeah.
Because we put it out in print. We have a website. We also have social media as well. Maybe yours is like a little bit more timely, like in the moment.
Yeah.
Like more raw, oh, what am I want to go eat something here.
Yeah.
Where's a good taco? You go to Local Buzz, you go to the food section, and is it live? Like when
It's chronological. So we have to upload. We have when we first started, we only had it where you could record right in the app, but we had to build out an extra feature where you could upload stuff. But it's still regardless chronological. Obviously, you're not gonna upload something that you experienced like a month ago, because that can be not relevant anymore, right? Or like that special and food has not there no more, right? So even if you record in your phone, you could upload within that week because it's still happening, right? So we try to, but the chronological, a lot of people miss chronological on their feed, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, and all that.
It's frustrating.
Because
all my ads for like Best Fest and Beer Fest have started show up like 3 or 4 days after the event, which I really appreciate that, right?
It's like, oh, this is relevant.
But yeah, what Phoenix Magazine does is, I mean, you guys have it's already, what Phoenix Magazine does is already the lifestyle of it. Talk to many people and holding it down for what Phoenix Magazine does, the representation of what goes on in Arizona through a very fun way. It's not a boring, you guys, it's not a boring magazine, that's for sure.
It's not a boring town.
It's not a boring town. That's what
every time you turn around, there's a new restaurant, or a new shopping experience, or the Mattel Park. Oh my gosh, I'm chomping at the bit for that thing to open up.
Yeah, I feel like we
need a really decent roller coaster. And I hope that.
All that. I think like capturing that, because Phoenix Magazine also has, I'm looking at the background, the high country, but also the outdoor hiking, which is a little other chapter. What's the name she writes, right?
Mary,
yeah. To me, I think that's amazing because I think that's what Phoenix Southwest is kind of known for is nature. I mean, there's not much that people, but when people travel to Arizona, they go to Sedona, the nature, these
5C of Arizona, a lot of them. Stuff, right? Climate.
Yeah, climate, right? It's we're also really known for nature, and I think I'm glad Phoenix Magazine captures the outdoor part of it too. So, yeah.
So you like to capture everything from outdoors to indoors. Anything that you've noticed from working with small business that here in Phoenix that they might need the most help in? Is it an opportunity like that with Local Buzz to get it just in front of eyeballs, or is it expanding, trying to grow their company or their small business on a digital platform? What do you think is kind of where they're struggling the most?
That's where there's no doubt about it. We're in a timeline where digital marketing, social media marketing is important now. It's before those newspapers and all that, right? And and I'm not saying that small businesses are forced to do that, but that's the world. The world has become that, evolved into that sense because of technology. And I think with social media, I think technology should be more of a tool. It's like when people want to know, if they want to read and they want something tangible to know what's going on in Phoenix, they could open up Phoenix Magazine. They're going in for that, right? They're going in to know about what's going on around Phoenix, around the Phoenix's Valley, through reading, through publishing. Whereas Local Buzz is kind of sense in the digital form, but through video, but through the eyes of the user and businesses and people who are on there supporting. Just so grateful that there's people on our platform that's highlighting so much about their favorite local business, these mom and pops. And I feel like, America's ran off small business. The country in general was all about small business. And I think we need to kind of keep that purity of supporting independent small businesses because that's what makes them unique, that people are proud to have in their town, right?
It gives us character.
It gives character, right?
Like Phoenix has a lot of character.
Yeah, definitely. And
people in Chicago are just now finding Local Buzz, evidently.
Chicago's awesome, definitely awesome. But I think, but besides the business, the eats and drinks, there's an arts community, right? I come from the arts background, before Snow and all that, and artists is what makes the city thrive. So if you look at Roosevelt Road wasn't built because of development; it was built because of artists, and they bring attraction. They bring people who want to come down, take photography with, or create this vibrant something out of nothing. So the arts community is very important from my back end, from my side of things, that people in the city should support strongly, because you shouldn't be a starving artist. You create more value in this world. You guys are artists. You're artists. When you do the photography stuff, you're taking these photos, you're creating art, and people need to appreciate that more, because it's what makes life vibrant, and attractive, right? So,
Yep.
And so
her pictures are way better than mine. I take some of the worst pictures you ever see.
So I think supporting local, small. It's realistic. You're supporting another human being, a human person, right? That's doing amazing things in the community that you appreciate or that certain community appreciates, and they do it because they're not trying to become millionaires. I mean, they probably love, but once you start doing something that you love, sometimes money if you make this enough to make a living in the world, but you love what you do, it means it means $1 million already.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For sure,
right? Your family's taken care of. You're doing well. You have a future. You have a strong community base that supports you. You have people who care and love you in your neighborhood. That's what more can you ask for? That's the human component of being like just well off in a good way without feeling that I need to be a billionaire.
Yeah.
Go back to what you said about the arts. Would you say that's maybe the biggest change over the last 5 years in areas like Roosevelt Row, or I know it's been kind of a big kind of focus for like Old Town Scottsdale. There's a lot of art galleries and things there, but or would you say there's something else that maybe is the biggest change? And
I think the biggest change, I mean, because we're having a lot more transplants and so forth, and the older generation, older millennial, Gen X generation of artists that paved way, especially for Roosevelt, they're getting old. They're not as active as they were. And you have the new generation, Gen Zs coming up, and younger millennials. I think the shift of that, I mean, now with the city kind of like developing more, it's a very interesting mix. But regardless, people are artists that they want to express themselves. But now they got to battle these issues of how do I get into a gallery that wants so much of like my percentage, right? Whereas like, I think Roosevelt Road 20 years ago, you could set up almost anywhere in on the street and all that, and these historic abandoned homes, and have galleries and stuff in a different level but it was only the arts community was supporting each other. But now we're more mainstream in a sense of Phoenix, of blowing up, and there's more exposure. So it's like a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
As the price goes up of things, and these things it costs expensive to do this, but you're going to get the value of people, more traffic coming in too. So I don't know, but I think with Old Town, I started to see, Old Town's art district, I started to see the shift of more not contemporary, but new artists coming in. Because before it used to be just, artworks that was kind of really old, for the older elders.
Yeah, right.
So there's a at this time, I think there's a new wave of new fresh art, younger artists moving into display, and I see that's a good direction that they should be going, because just like antiques, like downtown Mesa, like the arts, those vintage grandmas like cupboards and stuff like that, they're all gone. Those like your grandma's like tea cabinet and all that. People used to collect that like maybe 20, 30, 40 years ago, but that generation's gone. And downtown Mesa has no more, I don't think they have any more vintage antique stores. If you think
they have
about
a couple.
it.
Not like they used to.
They used to, right? Yeah. So I know there's
same with downtown Glendale. They used to have 10.
10, like, yeah.
And there's
right?
like, I think one that's technically an antique store.
But that generation
is
vintage
slingers, which is great. I love vintage clothing.
Yeah.
But not like that antique shop that had the tea.
Grandma's tea.
That grandma would stick her like emergency sewing kit in, like she had to sew a pillowcase together, or sock.
No one can sew anymore. I'm convinced they don't. Nobody knows how to sew. So I don't know how they make the clothes.
Talk about yourself. Like, no,
but
I have a sewing machine. And
all right, Morel. Morel, I'm gonna bring my stuff to you next time.
I think artists overall.
I've got a little bit of granny in me.
No, that's good. I mean, that's still a needed skill. I mean, you talk to me as a guy, I'm clueless with that kind of stuff. I have shirts with buttons I've been missing for a long time that just haven't been repaired.
I think that's an art form. I think all that's still art form. So when I speak of artists, he's not just painting. I think when people are crafting and putting metal stuff all together, I see that. I think artists in general, they do so much. They do such creativity stuff that makes people be like, wow, man, I need to be there, or I need to be part of that town or whatever. And then I think, but they want to do it as a full-time living, right? And they want to, I think artists always want to have the support that they need, because to do what they do, to what artists do, it takes a lot of time too. It takes a lot of it costs, and I think the value of providing those kind of vibrant colors for the community or the expression that people want, they should also support. And I think artists do so much in the community that makes the city amazing, that you go to, or that people go to, or that attend to, that they should have the support and awareness much more than just like, oh, he's just an artist, that's it, and brush it,
Yeah. The thing I like about artists and seeing more and more public art around, is that most of it has some sort of message, big or small, complicated or simple. It helps you kind of filter out some of the nonsense and craziness of the world and see it in perhaps a beautiful portrait. And all of a sudden, something that you kind of couldn't understand in your own head might make sense now, even if you don't agree with it, and you see those around. And like, my boyfriend's an artist, and I see a lot of things that he does. A lot of it's very political, but I'm like, I never looked at it that way before. And it makes you kind of feel lighter in a way. It adds some sort of levity, even though it might be a heavy subject.
I think taking that style, if people are putting time to put out their craft, whether it's political or the expression on it, and it could be mind bending. But I think that's the beauty of expression, because everyone's unique in expression, right?
Or like comedy, something that satire is like relief. Thank you for making me laugh at that. It was.
There's so many different art forms that
real bad.
Has all. I mean, doing art. I think comedy is art as well too. Just even if it's comedic art, but also the performance. So I think when I speak of arts community, I speak of it whole, from like everything from theater, from comedy, from anything that has someone to express their own uniqueness, and they do it with this kind of style of their own for people to discover. So
let's take a little drink break here to tell you about one of my favorite bourbons, Garrison Brothers. The High Fashion Takeover is coming soon from the great Garrison Brothers distillery that makes all of its handcrafted award-winning bourbons down on the ranch in High, Texas. Throughout the month of September, Garrison Brothers is presenting the High Fashion Takeover. Now, what's that? That is where bars and restaurants come up with their own spin, their innovative takes on the old-fashioned recipe, featuring Garrison Brothers bourbon. The Garrison Brothers Distillery is the first legal bourbon distillery outside of Kentucky, and it makes its premium bourbons to be rich, bold, and sweet without the heat. It's best served however you like your bourbon, neat, over ice, or in a craft cocktail like the old fashioned, of course. For more information on the High Fashion Takeover, visit the website highfashion.com. That's high, H-Y-E is how you spell that, highfashioned.com. Now back to more Tony C. So that's obviously picking up, and you're a well-traveled man. You over your 40 years or so. In looking at other cities and where you've been, what would you say Phoenix is missing the most, or that maybe we don't have any of it, or we have just very few that needs to maybe be boosted a little?
Philanthropy.
Okay,
that's what I could say. I could nitpick all the little things that everyone talks about. But number one thing, but above everything all, is philanthropy. Philanthropy is very important, because obviously the world runs off, being financed and stuff like that, right? To do what you do. Philanthropy, when I speak of philanthropy, is like, like my goal is that when I make a local bus, I want to be a philanthropist. I don't care about flying in like 20 jet planes or yachts, parties, nothing like that. My family are refugees, and we came from the struggle, and there's been people who's helped us out along the way. And my mom is my hero in the sense of treating people with kindness, respect, wellness, doesn't matter what color. If we're sitting out here, there's all these chairs are filled, and my mom walked in, she'll just ask everyone here to come over for dinner,
where is your mom right now?
She's
I think she sent us those ice cream kits.
Okay. That solves the mystery. Your mom is awesome.
But philanthropy is missing in Phoenix, because I talk with so many small businesses who are pop-ups, and I know development's happening in Phoenix, especially in Central Phoenix, but they're destroying a lot of plazas and buildings. I have a photo from 1970s of downtown Phoenix where Central was just all like, Central Avenue just had like historic buildings, or like buildings that were just like 800, 900 square feet. Down Central, just business, rather it's retail, rather it's bar, rather it's restaurant, all that. Developers were not even coming in and taking over certain plazas and demolishing it. There could be like 10 businesses in there, right? And there's I can name at least 5 plazas that's gone down already. But there are spaces for small businesses, but these developers are not here from local, so they don't care less. Mm-hmm. They just come in here to Phoenix. They probably think Phoenix doesn't have much going on. They're like a savior, but it's not really. But like, if you're gonna build something, have respect for the people that make the community neighborhood. You're not creating a neighborhood. They've been here already. These are people who already who have heart in for the city, that wants to see the small business community thrive.
Tale is the last time.
Yeah, and I wish if I could turn back the hands of time. Well, we're here now. But my whole goal is that when I make a local buzz, is to invest back into communities.
Yeah.
Make a living, take care of my family well and myself well, but also take care of others well. And there's things I see in the world of being out there so much that people need to really see this, to focus on this, to kind of to make our city thrive. These communities, and not lose this kind of essence of what community is about, what business community is about as well, what these small business people provide, what these people in this community and culture also express that they want to share with the people. And it comes down to, sometimes it's finance, it is. And it's, I want to make it good, but also do socially good as with the finance too, right? Because we're all going to die, you know what I mean? It's what you're going to do in this world that's going to make an impact that pays it forward. So I think that's my whole ambition behind this.
Do you ever have aspirations of local buzz as philanthropic in that they are spreading the word of a small mom and pop business?
Yeah, definitely. As much as local buzz goes far.
Yeah.
My goal is to have that still kind of foundation of showcasing and supporting local communities across the world.
Do you think that it would ever get to be such a powerhouse that you would create a scholarship type of thing for budding businesses or
all the above
people with ideas and
all the above? If I could do it all, I would do it all. I would do it all. Anything that does to uplift the community, uplift people in general, and make people be happy and strive for their goals, and support them and give them that kind of crutch. And if I have the opportunity to do it, I would do it 100%.
Awesome. I believe you.
Yeah. So I have a couple things here I want to finish on. You ready for rapid fire? Think about some of the places. Think about some of the places you visited over the years. Propping up people on local buzz, and don't even think. Yeah, maybe think quickly, and we'll do rapid fire here. You ready?
Pew pew.
All right. It could be, and this could be anything from food to events to art galleries, whatever. Favorite local spot.
Oh man, right now. Oh man, there's this food truck in south of the warehouse district called La Frontera. No, I'm sorry, La Hacienda. La Frontera is good too. It's on 60th Street in Vancouver. Another one's, the first pick food truck is La Hacienda on 3rd Avenue and Buckeye.
And what do they serve?
It's Mexican food. Southwest is known for great Mexican food in general, but consistency of there, it's not, and they don't serve like fat, supersized burritos. It's just cooked well, done well. Tortillas are cooked well. I ate at so many places, and that still goes back to this place is still top 10 and it's consistently good, and it's still affordable with everything that's becoming inflation.
Sure. How about most underrated place in town?
Most underrated in town. It's good. I don't know why I'm thinking flower shops. No, most underrated in town is 3G Vintage at Desert Sun Plaza. The reason why she collects a lot of 70s, 80s, and 90s stuff, because she's from our era. Don't get me wrong, younger Gen Zs who are doing the vintage clothing ways. I love what they're doing. But what she collects, it comes because of her knowledge of growing up through it. So she has a lot of 80s, 70s, 80s stuff that we toys that we played as kids or watched.
I
on
dig
right?
it.
So right, so now because you feel more because for a person who sells that, who
What's
comes
it called?
3G vintage.
3G
a little, we
vintage.
got a hot dude.
You
Where's
said that
that? Where's that?
Desert Sun, that's
Plaza.
off of Grand? Is
Yeah,
that
it's on Grand Avenue.
Okay.
She has some awesome collectible stuff that, I mean, there's a lot of vintage stores of clothing stores, the 90s around town. But when it comes to like accessories and toys and all that, she has it down.
It's 90s, you said?
A bit mixed from 70s,
Sounds
80s,
70s,
90s.
80s,
And it's a
90s,
little,
okay.
you know, these, I love when they take
Like
out
old
most-
starter jackets and
I don't think, sometimes she might have that.
Apex.
hammer
Yeah,
pants.
But it's like the size of this room right here, right? Because it's from an old motel, you know. And I love it when they take these 50s and 60s motels and they turn them into like opportunity for small businesses to be in, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's such a
correct.
clever way
Yeah,
to
that is
recycle
amazing.
a building, you know?
Recycle building, where the next door to be like a hair salon or tattoo shop is upstairs.
And it
right?
makes it affordable to a budding
Yes.
business person. You know, I can
Yes.
afford whatever small rent that
And you have,
might
you have
be. You know?
opportunity to be like your own entrepreneur and independent entrepreneur too, right?
Yeah.
So for affordable price, without saying like, oh man, I can't be an entrepreneur because I can't afford this 2,000 square footage. I guess I got to go back to doing what I got to do for my side thing, right? So
Last one here. What's the place that has surprised you the most that you've been to? Maybe you've heard about it and had low expectations, but it just blew you away,
Man,
or
I've been to
vice
so many-
versa.
I've been to so many places. Everywhere I go, it always blows me away. I just go in there with the curiosity. I think there's way too many to know. But one thing that I can unique that it's kind of blew me away in the sense what kind of you know it's what's cool, really cool is Curious Nature on Melrose.
Oh, that place is awesome.
Yeah, you know, I mean, for someone like who walks in there, you see like, you know, insects and bugs that are like dried up
Yeah.
and like skulls of
But
cat-
they're so beautiful. You
Yeah,
get a chance to like
they
really
definitely-
see their color and
It's
their
the arts
textures
of
and
it,
their
yeah.
shapes.
the art way they do it, right? It's kind of
Yes.
like looking at back in those new National Geographic magazines and it's like insects and or whatever you flip through when you learn science through these books of, you know, bugs and butterflies and stuff like that, but in person. So I think that place was kind of shocking.
So what is that, like a museum or
It's
an
kind of
art
you
gallery,
will want to say it's like a
Yeah.
museum. How would
It's like
you describe
lots
it?
of
man?
taxidermy, like just oddities.
Oh, okay.
I would just to sum it up, just random stuff, mostly like bugs that have been cured or something, so that they stay like in position.
It sounds like
Or-
it sounds like a thing that
Taxidermy
wouldn't
fish
have
and
a
heads.
lot of options if I categorized it on Best of the Valley. To I get reached out to every now and then, be like, hey, how come this isn't on Best of the Valley? I'm like, well, you might be the only person in town doing that. That's why
It's
we
kind
need
of like
options for people to vote.
Hawk Salvage. What was Hawk Salvage voted for? He was voted for.
Oh, best
Unique.
place to buy like unique piece of art or something like
Yeah, an editorial write up
Yeah,
that
that
we
was-
kind of
that's
Curious
we kind of
Nature will be something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Honor that,
that
you know,
would
like, kind of like
definitely fit in.
fit in those kind of, you know, because Hawk Salvage, that guy is love that man.
He's a world traveler.
He's a world, but no one knew he was a fireman. And I'm gonna say it right now, Hawk. I know you. 'cause
I
he
saw that on your Instagram. Go ahead and plug your Instagram real quick in because that photo is on there, right?
Yeah.
He was he retired a few years back, but no one knows. Because he does. Hawks is so grounded with the arts community now. Because he's in his retirement, you know, phase. But the stuff that he did, I sat and talked to him many times, and he's done a lot as a fireman, you know, and he's a great person, man. But he collects things that you'll be like, what the fuck? This is like 500, 600, 800. He has like this book of scriptures. I'm like, did you find this in the sand or something like that? Like, were you like hiking in like, you know, somewhere in the, you know, the desert? And you know, one of those, like in the movies, then you see this little shiny thing, you pick it up, and it's like this whole book of scriptures. I was like, where did you get this stuff? But I don't
Sounds like our modern Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
He is,
yeah.
he
It
is.
does
That's
feel
what-
like
that's
you're
what
going
he is.
into the vault
That's what
when
you
you
know.
go
What
into Hawk
that's
Salvage.
that's what he is. I want it.
For sure. And he literally does travel all over the world to find these things, which is fascinating. And he did tell me he was a firefighter, and he looks like a firefighter.
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
kind of brawny, you know, and he's like one of those brave, like, I'm gonna save the day. Like, he's totally humble, but yeah,
He was totally humble because
interesting dude.
I know for a fact some of his pieces are so collectible that's rare that he has buyers that probably buy for like thousands, right? But he also sell stuff that affordable for everyone, at the average Joe to walk in. So he doesn't stay, some people when they start selling art, they say, oh, I only sell to like people who can buy art $10,000 and up, and that's it, right? That they just go into that class level, right? What makes Hawk grounded is that he supports all that. He supports the arts community. He opens up his shop to let artists display their work in there. So he collaborates with the arts community, and and he's not. I know he sells a lot of high end prices, but he doesn't say it. But he sells stuff. He makes his gallery open to all, and that's what's amazing about him. So
isn't that the fun part of doing this? Like you get to meet people and learn their stories, and then you can share those stories. And I mean, that's what our role is.
Yeah,
that's the best part of this
journalists
job.
And photographers and podcasters is to learn the stories about people and share them with it so everyone else can hear about them.
Most definitely.
A lot of people like to brag on themselves a lot. I won't name names, but a lot of people don't. And then so it's our job to kind of get their story out and share it with the world or share it with the local community. That's what Local Buzz does. That's what we try to do at Phoenix Magazine. That's what we try to do on this podcast. And you're not alone, right? You're not. You mentioned your partner Adrian and building the app, and you have this awesome team behind you. I'm going to let you brag on them for a little bit. Give them some shout outs. Tell us a little bit about your team.
So me and my co-founder Adrian. First off, first and foremost, Adrian is an amazing co-founder. We've been partners in this journey for 4 years already, going 4 or 5 years. We're like a yin and a yang. When we come to, every business partner is going to debate, but we love to solve problems together. We love to say what the issue is, and then we don't hold each other by the neck. And I think that's because Adrian is. I don't know if it's because he went to Thunderbird. You guys know about that school?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They
Thunderbird
were.
School.
Are they still the Chiefs, or they changed that to the Warriors or something?
I don't know. So
they used to be
they're
the
downtown
Chiefs.
Ace.
Thunderbird
So now,
School of Management.
yeah.
I was thinking the high school.
No. So Thunderbird,
the higher education.
The higher
Thunderbird.
education.
Gotcha.
They're in downtown ASU bought them. They're in downtown ASU now, right? But I think people who attend Thunderbird, they all have this. Someone told me they all have a similar character to them, because they deal with business affairs, international business. So they have to have this kind of personality that they can get along with everyone.
Charisma.
Yeah, but calm, but also just listener, and every person I met that's from Thunderbird has that kind of cool, calm, collective personality. But there's this one particular person that told me and said, yeah, we all have the similar things. I'm like, I started to noticing it now. Every time I met someone from Thunderbird. So Adrian's always been that person that gets along with people and knows how to problem solve as well. He's always about okay, this is the issue. Let's make it. Let's be happy and solve it together. At the happy part, right? But hey, he's a straight, awesome person. I have the teammates, the community team. Nat the Brat, Lala Boo. Have the awesome teammates, Marie Camacho. That's actually her last name, and it's cool. Elise, Isabella, the Chicago team, Mark, Chicago for Keeps, Mike. I'm sorry, not Mike. Well, I was trying to think. Mark, Chris. Okay, yeah, that's it. So we have, so we have those, and then we have the community team too. So that's the internal team. So we have the internal team that we deal with the back end stuff. And then we also have the community team, the early adopters, the community team that just loves our mission. And I don't treat them no different in the sense I treat them like you guys are part of the family too. Mm-hmm. So, but everyone that's on board has this character to them. And I think having that diversity of fun, funky character and nicknames, and age range from mid 20s to early 20s to 40s, high 40s and 50s, right? I think having all sorts of background makes what Local Buzz, what community is all about. We're all different, but we all have the similar interests and passion and goals. And everyone that's behind the wheel with us all together, we all switch. I'm not just the one that's driving the wheel. We all switch turns, right? And I feel in a company like this, a brand like this, or just a team like this, you have to treat your teammates. Just because you're a founder doesn't mean you're above everyone else. I feel like everyone's all equal. I think I treat the team like they are founders too. Like they're all on the same levels. Because when everyone feels that way, we're more productive, we're more proactive, we're more supportive, and I feel like that's what. And everyone with the nicknames are unique, and love. I mean, we're good. I think we're good. I think we're good. I don't know what to say. I mean, it makes me just kind of happy about that. I have a great team, and I know it seems like I'm just out there by myself, but don't get me wrong. I think there's some things that I do that some of my teammates can't do, but they know that Local Buzz is my full time in the sense of we got to make it, but there's got to be someone that drives it for it. And I feel having that leadership to drive that forward, because in the end, it's still kind of, I still founded the company as well with Adrian, right? And we still have to take it forward if teammates don't stay, because there's been some teammates that came on and that couldn't do it. And it's not like everyone that stuck to it. It's with startups is either you're going to go all the way or you don't, but you have to be part of that grit. There's no and make progress, right? And there's never there's going to be moments that we're just going to be hitting brick walls, but how do you go through those brick walls? And with the team, we can go through those brick walls. Rather it's give each other a boost, jump over the wall, or just go straight through it. And once you go straight through it, you learn how to go straight through other ones. So
yeah, get on that Tonka truck and drive.
Yeah, that's it. What's that movie Big Trouble in Little China where here's a question, Russell, what's his name?
Kurt Russell.
Someone asked him, "Are you ready?" He was like, "I was born ready." That's such an iconic, underrated movie. I don't know why I was just thinking about that after you said that, like the truck part, because he was a trucker, right? He was a trucker.
Yeah.
I saw someone with a tattoo and the T-shirt. I think the logo Big Trouble in Little China is so iconic, 80s, right? It's like, yeah, I don't know what.
And he's like a working man, kind of like fighting the big evil. I forget his name,
yeah.
but
in Chinatown. But yeah, thanks, man. Thanks, man. You guys are great. I think you guys are just, I'm inspired by you guys too. So I think I'm inspired by everyone. I think it's going out meeting anyone is the energy and that keeps me going. So
Big Trouble in Little China. Does Phoenix need? I want to focus on does Phoenix need a Chinatown, or
what?
Is there one? I don't know of one.
Yeah, so Phoenix did have a Chinatown. So actually, when I did the Phoenix Night Markets 2019, it was in the warehouse district on Jackson Street. So the stadium where Phoenix Suns is, that's where the Chinatown was.
Yeah.
But so I paid homage to the Chinatown, and at that time, on the train tracks is where all the blue collar workers at. And Phoenix was known as agriculture, right? The 5 C's. Man, the history of the warehouse district when I got into it is freaking phenomenal. It's so phenomenal. All those warehouses, whatever's left, but where the stadium is, all that where the Diamondbacks play and all that, they were all produce warehouse. And there used to be a terminal, I think it's still there, the front facade of it on 3rd and Washington, which used to be Madison and 3rd Avenue, where people used to bring the produce from their farms and to trade or sell right there. And right there, it was kind of one of those, the original farmers market type of feel, right? So when I did the Phoenix Night Market, it was a homage to the Chinatown that was there. And the Chinatown was unique because it was multicultural. It wasn't it wasn't like a San Francisco Chinatown. It wasn't like a New York, right? It didn't have that kind of identity in the sense of the pagoda and all that, because after the 70s, a lot of people left downtown, and that's how the stadium came to be. Because they're like, okay, we need to revive this and be something, right? So they demolished that part and they built the stadium on top. But they did pay homage to, in the stadium, there's a shrine area about the history, and there's still a couple warehouses from the Chinatown era that has plaques in there about the first Phoenician Chinese Americans and stuff like that. But the story behind it was wild because the train tracks used to go through it, right? And Chinatown had had Latinos, had Japanese, Filipinos, and so forth, right? And it was, but the map you could go to Arizona Library, downtown library, and go to the Arizona room, and they have a map of the tenants that used to be all that stuff, and it shows how multicultural it was.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. So my whole goal, I want to make. This is crazy. When I did the night market, I want to turn Jackson Street. Do we know where Best
Fest,
was?
yeah.
So like I did Phoenix Night Market on that street. I took over from Central down to Diamondbacks Stadium right there was the strip of Phoenix Night Market. In the back end, the back parking lot has the parking. That was also part of Phoenix Night Market. So it was kind of like a loop. So you walk, you go on the street and enjoy like the festivities of like vendors and all that. Not food vendors, but like we had like Cobra Arcade set up. We had Game On Expo. They would blast like plasma screen on the stadium and play, all these amazing things. People performing, and then on the back end was the food vendors. And you walk through the back, and it felt like, and you see the train coming at the same time. This is like at 8 o'clock at night, right? 9 o'clock. And you had lights that were kind of like Asian, they were Asian themed with the Golden lights and all that. And you would have food and just do laps, walking in circles. You could just eat, walk, and go have fun. And I would have we had like Pikachu walks, dancers, and we had like, Japanese drummers walk around the whole, festival and just drum and just a lot of interaction. And it was like more of an experience. I was telling him when I talked to Brett, I was like, I think for Best Fest, he asked me about Best Fest. He goes, next year, he wants to make it more catered to kind of music as well, so, but I think, so where Best Fest was done, that warehouse, was I don't think it was a potato factory. I think the lot across the street was a potato factory, but I forgot what the warehouse was, but I learned about that warehouse, and but the warehouse across the street, that's part of Chinatown. That's the one of the last remaining in the heart of Chinatown. Yeah,
that still has some of the old letters on it and signage.
There's a photo from 1920s, late 1920s. It's black and white, of course, but it showed like 30 people in front of that building, but it was all diverse. And that time, 1920s, to see a business like that with, Asian, Latino, white folks and all that working all together was very interesting.
Wow. I'd like to see that. Will you post it on your Instagram? I love your personal Instagram, Infinite Tone. You have all these historic photos, and my favorite one that sticks out in my mind is the one of you with the owner of the old restaurant.
Oh, Sing Hai, yeah.
Sing Hai. Like, I'm fascinated with that building because you can still see like indications of the like decorations on the exterior.
So that
was that you as a little boy or your dad? I forget.
No. So that was I was in Phoenix at the time. That was Harlan, and so the picture that I posted I think a couple months ago was Harlan and his mom on there.
Okay.
And Harlan Lee is the third generation of his family. So his grandpa came over from China in the 1920s to be with our family here in Phoenix. And he started singing, but he knew no English. So how the name came to be was when he was about to open a restaurant, he asked a guy to write a sign. It's supposed to say Shanghai. But they couldn't understand each other. So he wrote Sing Hai. Singa. So
and it became
it became a Phoenix icon. So it was one of the last remaining Chinese restaurants in downtown Phoenix. It closed in 2018. So
Not
they after they demolished Chinatown, they moved down to I think Madison and like First.
Mm-hmm.
So First, right where the government district is, where the courthouse is. They bought that old hotel, the historic hotel used to be called Patio Hotel. And that's when they turned it to the Sing Hai for like 20 years. But Harlan Lee, he retired. His kids don't want to take over anymore, So it went from grandpa to Harlan's dad, and Harlan, and he, he's in his late 60s. So he sold that. You guys want to know how much he sold it for. But he sold it for a good chunk.
I hope that he's living well.
Oh, he's living well. But he's still here in Phoenix. And one thing I wanted to do was, when I was doing the night market and I still had snow, I wanted to open up a 1920s Chinese Gatsby style vintage bar.
I was gonna ask you
kind of like, I don't want to say opium den, right? That's kind of like too extreme and too kind of stereotypical in a sense, but kind of more exquisite. But a vintage 1920s 11s, like how Shanghai had that era they had during the 20s. especially during the height of the 20s. And the print models that they used to use were these women in dresses were so elegant and all that thing, right? I want to bring that back. And Sing Hai started in 1920s. But when I was doing the night market in Phoenix and Snow, I was trying to come up with a name if I was to open this like Chinese bar, underground feel and everything like that, I couldn't think of a name. Then I kind of scrapped the idea because I went on with local buzz and all that, but I started thinking about it more often. And I ran into Harlan because I always see him like every year somehow in Phoenix, somewhere in Phoenix. But I knew him from the years before. And it just clicked to me. I was like, Harlan, would it be cool if I use your Sing Hai as the name, as the bar? And he was like, of course. So yeah.
I love it. So
I have a lot. I still have all the photos, a lot of the photos. A lot of people who are the old Phoenician Chinatown Americans that started the Chinatown, their families all still here. The Yi family, all that. They have all the photos. Downtown Phoenix had so many Chinese restaurants, like the 19, even like through to the 50s, 60s of like that, what you see in the 50s TV show. You know how like there's those kind of like the era of 50s as well. Like so many. There's so many. So a lot of families knew when I did the night market, what I did to, pay homage to the old Chinatown. So I talked to some families and said, I want to use some of your photos if it was okay. And they're like, cool. But I told Harlan, when the time comes, not now. I can't. I want to succeed in local buzz first. I want to open up a restaurant, hole in the wall type of vintage 1920s style, 1920s Chinese bar that pays homage to Phoenix's history, but the style will be of that Gatsby era, Shanghai Gatsby era, but name it Sing Hai that has relations to Phoenix, and use some of the historic photos inside the building and maybe some of the menu items, but serve like Chinese tapas. But for the most part, yeah.
Well, you have a cocktail called the Harlan.
Yeah, of course. I would
think that would be delightful.
But above all, back to the whole night market thing, was that I wanted to also turn Jackson Street into something called like a lantern lane to show that there was a Chinatown here. So you could go, in front of like, where Best Fest was, imagine it was just like lanterns, just a photogenic lanterns across all the way down to the stadium.
Yeah.
That'd be a
backdrop, right?
Yeah.
A cool backdrop, but it has meaning to it because there was a Chinatown here.
Yeah.
Not just because we're doing it, just because we're doing it. It just means that there's a forgotten Chinatown
and that's
here.
art.
That's art.
And that's art. That's why art is so
just
important. You remember things that are important.
It could be a lane of just having like you go there at nighttime and take photos and be a great place to take photos and just know piece of that history of that. Why is there lanterns on the street? Because there's a Chinatown.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It'll encourage people to like find out why.
Yeah.
And then they learn.
Yeah, that could really revitalize that whole south of the stadium and kind of remind people of what they have going on in like Washington D.C. with their Chinatown. There's the arena is like right in the middle of all that, and otherwise it's been there and it never went away. It's been there for a long time, but
the warehouse district was vibrant. It was so many. I mean, at that time there was no technology jobs. Everyone was an iron worker, blue collar crop, selling crops, farm, and all that.
Yeah,
there's so much traffic down there, But after that, after people left downtown, that's what the history just went down the drain because the city it's the city that didn't invest it back into how can we kind of keep the history of this. There was a gap,
right?
Whereas some cities they just kind of like continue on and have people build on it, right? Whereas people just left Phoenix to love it. So.
Well, cool, Tony. This has been awesome, man.
You gotta let the Phoenix Magazine editors know when you get around to that Shanghai.
That'll be a while.
Shanghai will be an exclusive, or Shanghai will be an exclusive for Phoenix Mag when it Shanghai, I got to get that right.
I know, but I want to tell that story how the name came to be. Isn't that cool?
That is a great story. Yeah, a little lost in translation. Be like, just go with it.
Maybe a cocktail lost in translation.
Yeah.
Too,
Well, this has been super awesome, Tony. Appreciate you coming down here and spending some time to chat with us.
Most definitely. Thank you so much.
All right, be on the lookout for more with our Great 48 alumni in the next few weeks. We are lining up those and looking forward to the 2023 class of the Great 48 coming out in the November-December issue of Phoenix Magazine. By the way, make sure to check out the newest issue, September, October, where we have the great foodie bucket list. Everything you ever wanted to try here in Phoenix before you die, of course, from a culinary standpoint. We also have a great fall travel and destination brewery kind of feature in that. Yours truly had a part in writing some of those stories. You got to visit with Copper Brothel Brewing and the brewery down at Torito Farm in Wilcox. Awesome stories. Good time visiting with those guys. So check out September, October issue of Phoenix Magazine coming to your mailbox if you're a subscriber, and coming down to the newsstands. I believe it should be on newsstands the first week of September. So make sure to check that out. Want to also tell you about the Arizona Craft Beer Awards coming October 21st. It's a Saturday. Out on the Great Lawn at State Farm Stadium. The building there that hosts us is called Heritage at Sportsman's Park. It's all that great tailgating lawn that you see outside of where the Cardinals play. We had the first event last year out there, the Arizona Craft Beer Awards Festival. Great time. All the breweries are going to be out there. We're partnering with the Arizona Craft Brewers Guild, and part of the proceeds from that festival go towards their foundation. So we are excited. We're getting the judging started in September. We're going to have the awards in early October, and then the festival celebrates everything on the Great Lawn, Saturday, October 21st. Get your tickets right now, tickets.phoenixmag.com, tickets.phoenixmag.com, and we'll see you at the Arizona Craft Beer Awards Festival on Saturday, October 21st. That'll do it for today's episode of the Phoenix Magazine Podcast. God willing, we will see you here next week.